Welcome back, everyone, to DBDLeague in the All Hallows League. This is week 4 in the group stage, the final one, and we have some very intense matches ahead of us. But before we are talking about the day and what the matches are bringing onto the desk, we are going to introduce the legend of analyzing gameplay himself, the wonderful Prion. Welcome in today.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Dyer. It's a pleasure to be here once again for week 4 of the All Hallows League. And I believe, just like you said, we do have some exciting games to present to you guys today.
Yeah, we are starting off with our Japanese guests. I hope everyone is ready to see them, because for them it is going to be the final chance to take a win here today. Misery is fighting for the best possible seeding for the AHL final stage, and on the other hand, Kitchaze with the will to come up with a nice finisher here. Of course, we also hope that they are coming back in the future and that they are making sure that we will hear a lot more about them, but so far they must make sure that they are getting at least a win before dropping out from today. Then Catalyst and Severance, they are playing some sort of a mini final, you could say, in their group. Both teams can still drop from the tournament. Whoever wins it is going to advance, so very exciting match there. And then of course the question towards the end, will Eternal make a flawless run through the group stage, or is Loyalty able to stop them? Interesting decisions. Prion, talking about the Japanese team first against Misery, kind of the representatives for the American community for a long time. Who do you see in a little bit of an advantage there perhaps tonight?
It's difficult to say with these two teams, Dyer. I think I would have to give the advantage on paper to Misery here. Seeing as they're trying to get the best possible seed they can going into the next stage of the tournament. But my heart wants to root for Japan here. I really hope they're able to get at least one win before they go home. And like you said before, I think we all are hoping that they'll come back for future tournaments as well. It's been really awesome to see them play, and I'm hoping that we can get to know them more in future tournaments.
Yeah, I really, really hope that they have something for us in the future. They played well so far. We definitely learned something from them in terms of strategy. They have, in some aspects, this different approach to comp DBD when we are talking about the perks. For example, with the self-care that they are taking or investing way more time into being safe during the trial. On the killer builds, we have seen more like a standard or classic approach, you could say, with the Ruins and Dying. We'll see if that is changing for today, but a lot of our European teams are becoming more and more aggressive with the blood favor, with a lethal. This aura reading at the beginning seems to be in our scene more important these days, and then the Japanese team is looking back onto the gen regression, this classic form of slowing the game down. From what we have seen so far, Prion, do you think there is a special advantage that the European teams are becoming more aggressive now with blood favor, lethal pursuer, or would you say after some time it might be good to realize again that gen regression is the number one thing?
So here's what I think, Dyer. I think with the All Hallows League balancing that we have here, blood favor is without a doubt the strongest perk in the entire pool. Even if the survivors are able to cleanse it very quickly into the game, as long as it gets a single activation in a single chase, it's still worth not having a perk slot for the whole rest of the game. That's just how strong it is. Not only does it like zone survivors in like a 30-meter area, it forces them out of an area that they would want to die because they have to hold W to where the pallets aren't blocked. And I mean, time is the most crucial resource in competitive DBD. Blood favor can cut your chases in half if you just get one hit at the start. So I think as long as this perk is allowed, it's never going to leave the build of a competitive killer.
Yeah, and it's very understandable, right? Talking about this, that it's worth even losing a perk slot pretty early as long as you have one activation, because quite often in Season 9 in AHL, the early game is making such an impact for the remainder of the trial. If you are able to have the first hook stage, having this pressure getting started on the survivor team, filling this to-do list, how we sometimes say, first survivor already needs to leave a generator in order to make sure that the teammate is being rescued. They need to discuss about the resets or not. So there's, before someone says, yeah, it's only one hook stage, what's the benefit of it? Why is it so important? Keep in mind that especially to the first hook stage, there's so much connected in terms of losing the gen pressure, in terms of rising the objectives that the survivor team has to do. Because especially at the beginning, if you have an organized comp team, you will have one survivor in chase. He's running you towards a location on the map where no one is currently working on, and the other three are just slamming the generators. So keep that in mind about the blood favor here. And I'm very certain we will see a lot of usage from this perk today. Nurse kicking it off. Prion, you know Misery really well, even better, or by far better than me, I would say. Nurse and Misery, I, from the first approach, was a little bit surprised. Isn't Misery good against the Nurse as well?
Yeah, Misery is a really good team. One of the strongest teams that we have in North America. Actually, I've played against them a few times, and they were not very nice to my mastermind when I played against them in a different league. But yeah, Misery is a great team. They have a lot of good fundamentals, especially against the Nurse. A lot of the teams in North America really like to just get in a custom lobby and just play Coal Tower Nurse until they fall asleep. So I'm not surprised at all to see them not upset about the Nurse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking as well. When I saw it, I was like, of course, they are our guests here from Japan, so they might not be too aware what the teams have as their specialty. But I was like, Misery is 100% not going to complain about that first set that is coming in. Of course, everyone keep in mind that Kitchaze was selecting the map for the Nurse. Misery still doesn't know this map. They will only know in a couple of minutes when they are loading in on the survivor side. We have seen in the past in the tournament that this map choice can really be used for tactical advantage. If it's something that crazy that Kitchaze cooked there is something we're going to find out in a second. But we make a little bit of a 180 turn after seeing the Nurse. We're going to brutal M1 mind game gameplay, at least at the very beginning of the trial, with the Oni. And I feel like while we talked about blood favor, this might be a perk that can be really damaging there as soon as you're already taken a hit, if you're then being denied from using any other balance around you. But in general, I feel like this is a perfect test for the two teams who's doing better in mind games and also on the ping difference.
Absolutely. The Oni is such a classic set that I think you would be hard-pressed to find anybody that doesn't like to watch this set. It's a really good test of fundamentals for both sides, whether survivor or killer. The M1 chases at the beginning are really representative of how comfortable these teams are, with trying not to give up the first hit and then playing safe if the Oni's power is out. And then there's always going to be a moment if the survivors don't play perfectly where there's just too much blood on the map and the survivors have to cut their losses and just do gens injured. And the Oni just has power for the rest of the game, and it's a really exciting time. So I love this Oni set. I'm pretty happy that it was Kitchaze, or no, it was Misery that selected this, right?
Yeah, Kitchaze was selecting the Nurse, so Misery came up with the Oni, saying, okay, after having kind of an oppressive killer here at the start, we would like to remind everyone that we also can play pretty well on the mechanical sets, we could call the Oni. And I remember from previous tournaments where we have seen Misery that they are very organized also when it comes to punishing these weaker killers. When we're talking about the M1 characters, as soon as they're being ran a little bit too long, then you can instantly feel like how Misery is basically striking onto them. We do, though, Prion, we need to reach the tiebreaker today in case it's a 2-0. I don't know how we are going to write the script that the tiebreaker is still going to happen, but we'll find a way, because then my absolute favorite killer. Prion, how do you see Kitchaze and Misery performing on the Plague in case that is needed today?
Yeah, the Plague is another classic comp set that I think a lot of DBD League fans will enjoy, just as you and I do. But I'm a little bit confused as to how it's going to go, particularly on Ormond. It's a map that I don't think I've ever seen a Plague competitive set played on. And then the other thing that I would want to mention is that every team kind of has a different philosophy when it comes to whether they will cleanse and when they will cleanse, right? So if it were me, if I were playing in one of these teams, it's you kind of have to take it case by case whether you cleanse or not. Like if you're Death Hook and you hear the Plague take her power, then you cleanse. But if you're not under pressure and the Plague takes her power and you can all spread out, then maybe it's better to not cleanse. It's definitely a test of how these teams handle difficult situations. And it's going to be a new variable today, like I said, since we're going to be seeing her on Ormond, which we've never seen before.
Yeah, Ormond definitely going to make it super interesting. That's also why I really hope that we are going to see the Plague coming out today, because it will be kind of an experiment for us even when we are talking about the gameplay that is coming out, the strategy. You mentioned it. A lot of teams have a different philosophy even when it's about cleansing, when to cleanse and what's a good timing. So I feel like there's a lot of agreement on certain add-ons and perks in the competitive environment, yet the Plague is one of the most controversial ones, at least when we are talking about the approach from the Survivor side. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the first trial. That is ASK coming out for Japan, you could say, for Kitchaze here, playing against the American team, Abby, Vistuis, Ducky, and Cheese, on a very classic set as well, the Coal Tower, basically where the Nurse feels home in the competitive environment. And so far, it does feel like a home game for ASK, because this first down is coming out relatively quickly.
Yeah, really good first down there for ASK. Vistus goes down at the main building, and that's going to be the first hook on a hill here. So we have Ruin Undying with Thanatophobia and Corrupt Intervention. Corrupt has already left the trial, but it's going to be a pretty classic build here for our Japanese Nurse, as now he's looking around in the middle area of the map, trying to see if anybody is crossing for the save. But if I were this Nurse, which I think he's understanding the assignment here, he's got a very early down, so he's going to want to play around this hill.
Hills are usually also this good jackpot for a killer. You can wait on it. We see it a couple of times where you're then trying to catch the rescue as quick as possible. ASK thinking though that someone is over here, spotting them. Abby trying to hide behind this tile, and I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be enough to prevent a trade. The answer is no. That's going to be Abby on the floor, and ASK is wanting more. He wants to take Vistus down onto the floor. Once again, getting the tunnel out as quick as possible. We see the decisive strike is currently working on a generator. Very unfortunate for Team Misery. That's going to be the second hook stage immediately onto Vistus. Abby still on the floor as well. No second chance and no rescue in time possible as well. Even spotting the third survivor here, knowing that there's currently no gen pressure besides one survivor working on this objective. ASK with an insane pressure at the moment. Abby immediately being picked up now though. Good coordination there from the side of Misery. As soon as the Nurse is moving out of the area, that's going to be a strike. But Ducky is facing an injury as well. ASK is looking so confident right now.
Yeah, ASK is controlling this map so well right now, Dire. He's even, getting hits between people, being able to save the survivor on hook. And Vistus, he's been taking these chases in locations where it's just not really possible to juke the Nurse. Like around the main building, there's just not a lot of stuff to obscure your pathing with. As Cheese goes in for a trade, that's going to be Viscus now in his potentially final chase. He has Resurgence, but that's just not going to come into play because there's been no time to heal him, and he is just going to go down for the third time. Dire, that is going to be a death at 4 gens remaining. almost 5 gens remaining, as that one over by the shack just popped. Now, everybody injured or on the ground, as Vistuous is going to be killed on the hook, sacrificed here. ASK is really bringing his A game today for Japan.
Absolutely, they are going to leave while setting a sign, you could say. Second generator coming out, and it honestly already feels like the final strike that Misery is going to have here, preparing a whole new generator with this confident nurse and 2 injured survivors will be one hell of a challenge. Going for the reset here is definitely a good idea. We see the solidarity coming out as well, so a little bit of advantage will be granted for the second heal. Around the 75% is going to be awarded to our survivors, so that's a little bit of time cut, and just in time. Solidarity actually having a lot of value here, as the nurse is already at the main building again, was really close to the 2 survivors that currently performed a reset. Good for Misery that they were not located, because now you have a little bit of time to sort yourself, decide who's going for the unhook, where are we going to attack a potential 3rd generator. But there is not much that Misery will be able to do here anymore. The 4K should definitely come out if ASK is not making any tremendous mistake here.
And you know what, Dyer? I don't think ASK is making any mistakes. I don't think he has missed a blink this game.
I was thinking for a second, he seems to have the idea of even having someone around at the water tower, and is successful with that prediction as well. Ducky was suspected to move on towards the hook stage, and that's the down right there. 4K on 3 generators remaining. Big congratulations towards Kitchaze. Speed run trial, you could say, here in this first one. And Prion, you mentioned it, not missing a single blink this game. We don't have the deliverance yet. As soon as Cheese is hooked, these survivors are allowed to speed up their death, and in case they would go for the Kobe, they can just remain under the hook, allowing the rehook, and then it's all going to be fine. But yeah, we talked about it. Misery is going to try to set themselves in a very nice position. They also need the win today, so they cannot give it to Kitchaze. Otherwise, it's going to look difficult to reach the main stage. They still have a game against Unoya tomorrow, but you better going to take the W here today. So Prion, what's the plan now when you are coming into your best of 3? You're knowing we have to win today to keep a chance for the playoffs, so not all the pressure is laying on tomorrow, and then you're getting clapped on Cold Tower, let's say, with 4K on 3 generators remaining. What's the strategy now for Team Misery?
If you're Misery here, Dyer, you gotta remember that in Dead by Daylight, especially in competitive Dead by Daylight, anything can go wrong at any time. Every team can have a bad game, and every killer can have a good game, like ASK did here. It was an absolutely dominant performance from Kitchaze on the Nurse, but Misery needs to remember that this wasn't their pick, and they will be able to bring it back in the Oni set as long as they can keep their mental strong.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest challenge right here. The mindset needs to be straightforward. You mentioned it, not their set. They can make a move in the Oni set in case, of course, they can play out of their mind on Nurse now. We've seen it before. Even in DBDL, we have seen 4K on 5 gens remaining, so it's definitely possible. In case it doesn't work, you definitely need to remember the Oni is our set we are going to strike later on. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, how the killer side of Misery is going to play it out. We are going to switch the sides. Kitchaze is going to be on the survivor side now. They need to get 3 generators done in order to take the first set point into this best of 3. We will see you in just a moment after this break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Coal Tower, and we now have Misery on the Nurse here with a steep win condition of 4K4. We have Ducky on the Nurse. He already has found a survivor using Lethal Pursuer, and he's going to land a very early first hit onto Makopan, who's playing this David for Kitchaze. Kitchaze needs to pop 3 generators here if they want to take this Nurse set, and a nice set of blinks there from Ducky around that filler tile. is going to net him a very quick first down. But Dire, it looks like he is planning to slug.
Absolutely, Ducky has to slug if he wants to make sure that this win condition is reached. A normal strategy, if you want to call it like that, is not going to work when you need a 4K with 4 generators remaining, though he doesn't find a survivor, unfortunately, around the main building here. Ducky now going towards the main building, trying to find someone to chase. Makopon still on the floor. Will be interesting to see if the other survivors even care too much about the slugged survivor, or if they're using the current opportunity to just slam the gens as 3 survivors. A little bit of scratch marks over here next to the generators, so Ducky's game sense was not off too much, yet the first generator will be completed before the first hook stage is even coming through. Nijan making a very nice attempt here, using the rocks as a line of sight blocker. Ducky losing his slug and the first generator as well. Kitchaze already halfway through to at least reaching the tie, looking very strong here.
Very nice pathing there from Neon with his overcome exhaustion perk there. He's able to lose Ducky and get all the way down towards the shack. He might get found here, but he's wasted so much time. He was able to avoid, I think, almost 2 full sequences of blinks there, as now he's going towards the backside of the shack. Blink is being charged. It's going to be a short blink, and then he runs back to the pallet. Does not quite dodge out on that, though. He is going to get picked up there, so that's going to be the deliverance out of play for Kitchaze. I'm curious as to why Ducky is deciding to pick up now when he was slugging before, but overall, that was a great chase from Neon.
Yeah, this is how you want to start it when you're having a good win condition for yourself already. We pretty often see how a great killer game can really boost the confidence on the survivor side, how your team is then moving into the trial, making sure that the generators are getting slammed very, very quickly. Ducky moving back towards the main building, expecting the rescuer to be over here, and he was right with that call as well, but Nijan is being rescued by someone else. We're going to chase over here, cannot blink through the hill though. Makopon is going towards the edge of the map. Ducky now in this tile, trying to make sure that he finds the next survivor. David King is going to take the injury right here. Line of sight breakers are not available. The only strategy is a double back, and that was a very beautiful one at the perfect timing. Ducky struggling to get these survivors. Kitchaze playing really strong, and this down over here, even though it's the second hook stage into the game, is not going to be enough at all to establish the pressure that is needed onto these survivors. You need a lot more going for you than just Makopon, especially considering that it's the threshold 2 minutes 20 minutes of hang time. Kitchaze wouldn't even need to rescue this survivor and still having enough time on their hands to get the necessary 2 generators out of the way.
Yeah, Dyer, you can tell that Ducky is really feeling the pressure right now because he's going for 1 blink, not even waiting for both of them to charge. And it did eventually work out there in that chase onto Makopon, but he's running out of time here. Kitchaze has been pretty efficient so far. They've only given up 2 hook stages, and they have significant progress on some of those gens over by the shack side. They don't have to worry about any sort of 3-gen scenario because of their win condition. So they're almost just free to sit on these generators while Makopon is on the hook. Ducky needs to make something happen elsewhere on the map, or this game is going to be over.
Now a little bit of chase gameplay again as we're having the rescuer over here. Rizal is taking it. That's the second generator of the game though. Are we going to see a nice double back or just into the corner, running into the corner over here, wasting as much time as possible, making sure that nothing further can happen in terms of the killer. You don't really want to slug from the corner of the map because you have such a travel distance to reach. Therefore the hook is coming through, yet that's going to be the decision. Third generator being completed, meaning that Kitchaze is taking the win in this very first set. It seems like They arrived in the European and American community. First 2 games in the tournament have been tricky, have been difficult. Their strategies didn't really land and didn't really find the counterplay that they needed to stop the teams. Yet in game number 3, you can tell they are going to shine. They are starting much more confident. It's all looking really, really good. So yeah, congratulations to Kitchaze here. Prion, from how the game is going right now, this could even end up in escapes being taken.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm interested to see if Kitchaze is able to finish this game out and get some escapes. Ducky was hitting some very nice 1-blinks there in the mid game, but it's just not enough given the win condition. Kitchaze was able to spread out on the generators. They had very comfortable amount of time to do the gens. And unfortunately, if you're Ducky and you don't have that insane start that ASK had last game, you're just not going to be able to get the win condition unless Kitchaze makes some very large mistakes, which they did not. So Kitchaze is going to take this win, and they're going to be possibly on their way to getting some outs here.
To have the TNL difficult tile for the Nurse, sometimes with the line of sight breakers and the 90-degree angle walls, but it is good job by Ducky here getting the injury onto Makopo. Now though, the survivor in the advantage. A lot of tiles here on the right side of the coal tower, allowing you to break line of sight with the killer, not necessarily allowing the quick down that you would look for yet. Generator 4 and 5 coming out. Ducky is going to have Makopo on the floor in the corner of the map though. That should even be enough time for 3 survivors to go for the exit gate on the other side of the map. We see there on the left side towards the bottom is the exit gate located, and it should be enough for Rizal, Nichan and YQKXN. I better don't try to pronounce that, walking out of the door. Congratulations Kitchaze, as we pointed out, very well done here in the first set of today. Nichan escaping from the other exit gate injured, and that means that you have really set the sign. And Prion, looking into set number 2 that is coming up, the Oni is a killer with all the mind games that really requires confidence on the survivor side, and after a set like this, you definitely have earned yourself a very high confidence.
Yeah, Kitchaze is going to have all of the momentum going into this Oni set, even though it was not their pick. I'm optimistic to see how they do on the survivor side, because we'll be going straight into Misery's killer performance, just given the way that the side switches work. But Kitchaze here has a chance to 2-0. That would be extremely impressive in their potential final. Well, this is their final showing. So we'll be right back after a short break to see if the team from Japan can go out on a really impressive note.
Welcome back everyone. Prion just told me that he hasn't seen Wistrus playing the killer in a long time, but also said that he used to be a very strong Oni in the competitive environment. So if you're asking me, this sounds like the perfect person to have the responsibility for a nice killer trial for Team Misery here on the very famous Coal Tower. It is. Both teams decided to go for a very, very standard approach. Comp Tower, as we call this map very often, as it has such a nice RNG, very much consistency as well. You usually get a 3-gen either at the main building and the right and left side of it, or the bottom side. Here it seems to be that we have 4 gens further towards the bottom center. Vistrus is trying to get the first injury on a Kitchaze survivor, but so far there's not this one survivor you're looking for in a good position, a little bit zoned out from the tiles so you can easily strike. So he's still debating with himself what survivor would be a good idea to chase, and it is going to be the obsession, because Prion, we have play with your food for this one.
Yeah, and as Dyer said, Vistrus is quite the infamous Oni player on the North American server. He had a, I believe, multiple month-long streak of not having any doors open against his Oni in a competitive set. So that's kind of what Kitchaze is going to be dealing with here, and he always does love the play with your food in his build as well to get those first hits in the basic Oni form. He's still looking for something now, playing it very slow, but the survivors of Kitchaze are also playing very safe. There haven't really been any pallets used quite yet. We have Chase now onto Neon in the corner of the map over here by this rock filler. He's going to throw it on the short side, and how that hit doesn't land on ping, that is shocking to me, Dyer, as it looks like he's just going to leave.
Absolutely. In case anyone is shocked about the ping, both teams are allowed to play with exit lag to decrease the difference a little bit between these two teams. So we have a little bit of a more fair condition for the match, basically. Yet it was surprising that they are basically living in the behavior headquarter right now, not taking an injury for that. Filler pallet over here, Nijan able to avoid it, yet Vistus with a very understandable swing, trying to get the injury as quick as possible here, moving around the hill, trying to make sure that he's wasting as much time as possible, but Vistus can just cut the way by walking over the hill. Not the best pathing, unfortunately, by the survivor. That's going to be a relatively quick down and going to end up on the hook here as well. No generator being completed yet. In exchange for that, we have individual pressure on multiple generators though, so if Vistus is not quick enough with letting pressure follow on the survivors now, he might find himself with multiple pop generators in a few seconds.
Yeah, and Vistus finally going to activate the power here. I was worried there that that down happened too fast and almost wasn't going to give him the Blood Fury, but he's able to get it with just one more Blood Orb, as first generator is going to go in the middle section of the map. Now Vistus activating the Blood Fury. He sees a survivor here. He really wants Rizel here over at this tile by Shaq. Blood Fury coming in, flicks around the pallet. Very nicely done from Vistus. That's going to be the first down with the Blood Fury. He's going to slug though. He wants to go back to hook. Neon is nearing second stage here, and Vistus wants more with this Blood Fury. Another gen is going to pop at main, so now he knows where every survivor is. He's got the scratch marks here of the potential rescuer. Pallet is going to be dropped, but he's committing to it. He does not want to break that pallet just yet. And he gets the hit. Nicely done again from Vistus. That's 2 on the ground. Neon almost going to go second here, and I don't think this Adam is going to be able to save. This is immense pressure for Vistus.
Absolutely. Rizel now with the injury here as well, so really the only survivor who can do anything at the moment is our Adam. He's healthy, he can trade if needed for the hook stage, and we already have him right here. There's also going to be the possibility to have more play with your food. Unfortunately, the chase with the Adam did not trigger, even though they were line of sight with each other. Therefore, Vistus without the tokens, without the extra speed boost here. Makopor is still on the ground. Ace finding himself in a situation where you have a difficult mind game against you, is going down now while vaulting over the window, yet Makopor at least being picked up from the floor here. So we have 3 survivors back into the trial, 3 survivors able to pressure the generators. This midsection generator has a good amount of progress, yet we're going to see the kick -5% and the eruption coming in onto that generator as well. Vistus is in a difficult situation now. You need to find a good balance between slugging the survivors and going for the hook stages. I think going for the hook stage here onto Rizel is a good decision though. You don't want to overcommit, you don't want to make it too risky. As a next step though, it would be pretty nice if he's able to find the Adam again in order to get to play with your food stacks.
Yeah, and also Dyer, he does have Neon dead on hook here, as Jack Pallet going to be unceremoniously dropped, and I believe this is the Adam here. He's maybe going to want to get play with your food stacks. No, he's actually just going to go back to the unhook there. That was a save coming in from Makopon, but he's injured, just going to go down. And that's going to be a trade. Another Pain Resonance. Attempted a flashlight save there. The Pain Resonance not going to hit that middle generator. Blood Fury now coming in. He's dashing towards this rock filler pallet. It's going to be dropped. He goes for the flick, but nice little dodge there from the Adam. He's going to vacuum him into the pallet. Goes for another Blood Fury, and he's going to hop into the locker. He's got nothing left here. So he's just going to get pulled out of the locker. Very smart play here from the Adam on Kitchaze to knock the Oni out of his power. give the other survivors a chance to get away and maybe get some other generators done. And yes, a generator is going to pop over by main building. So time bought here for Kitchaze.
And this time is important. The most important thing at the moment are the generators. The first win condition is all about the generators that are completed by a survivor team. So you would really love to have some extra seconds getting generator number 4 out of the way at the very least, because then your opponent team needs to break the 3-gen and you might have a chance playing around that. Nijan going down immediately here with the power though. Vistu is not going for the slug, wants to keep the hook stages together, knows that this is the elimination as well, therefore good decision making right here. We see the distribution of the generators as well, 4 of them down here, 1 in the midsection, 4 on the other 3 on the bottom side. So really big chance for yourself to make sure that you are basically forcing the survivors in playing on only 50% of the core tower. A lot of pressure resulting from that. Going over here, having the power instantly ready to go again. Great mobility, a lot of danger due to the one-hit potential here. Survivors will have to pull back, almost playing hide and seek for a minute now in order to make sure that they are not going to find themselves on the floor and slugged. Yet Prion, if Kitchaze is able to survive this entire power and resetting Vistus back to 0, they made a very huge step for themselves.
Yeah, and very safe play coming in here from Kitchaze. They are all either in lockers or hiding in the basement. That is exactly what you want to do if an Oni pops this power and you don't really have anybody that's been caught yet. So he's going to run out of power. That was an uncharacteristic mistake for Vistuous, in my opinion.
Yeah, usually we pretty often see that the power is kept until you find that survivor that you want to go and chase with, and then you're using your power to have this one-hit potential. Yet in this specific case, he was trying to get this little bit of extra risk, potentially being aware that Misery really needs to win this second set in order to put themselves in a good and realistic position to make it into the playoffs, but then it was unfortunately denied by Kitchaze. Therefore, good that the shack is some sort of a blood bank at the moment, where you can just refill your power whenever you feel like. A little bit of caretaking of the generators here, and I feel like this time Vistuous will not make the same mistake again. He will take a look onto having a survivor around him, and only when being in a chase confirmed, then it's going to be the power. In order to take the one hit though, he's just going to take the M1 onto the Adam here, taking the play with your food stack, so 5% of extra mobility, speed. Makopon being found over here, and now we are having the chase with the power, and that's going to be a stun for now. Hopefully Vistuous is getting a quick down here.
Flick coming in, and nice pathing there from Makopon. He anticipates the flick and is able to dodge around it on the pallet, and Vistuous has to leave. He wants to protect this middle generator so badly to get a 4K2 for his team, but Dire, that generator has the anti-kick mechanic on it now. It's regressed 8 times. He can't kick it anymore.
And that's going to be really punishing for Vistuous, as this is now adding the time pressure onto him. You have to do something serious against this survivor team. You have to keep them busy with injuries, with the slugs, with hook stages, because regressing the generators by kicking them no longer works. Makopon also setting up for an immediate rescue, bringing back the third survivor into the trial. In the meanwhile, Ace is responsible for having a longer chase around the generator that is almost about to finish. So I do think it's difficult for Vistuous now to take the 4K on 3 gens completed. It will very likely turn into at least 4 generators popping in this trial. Yet he still has a realistic chance to go for 4K after that. The key for that is though that he's getting Rizal in a pretty quick manner. The injury is over there, yet we don't have the power. So Vistuous understandably going back towards the generator over here. We already see the scratch marks because Misery is aware as well. We really would like to take this generator out.
Yeah, and we see Rizel going straight back to that middle generator. And Vistuous, he's going to turn around and try to fake Kitchaze out here. Goes for the window, and he's not going to land the Demon Strike there. Nice vaulting there from Makopon. He has been incredible in chase in this set, Dire, despite the fact that Kitchaze is kind of in a dire situation. So Eruption going to go down onto a generator that can actually still be kicked. And Vistuous now pathing around the water tower, trying to get back to this middle generator that he wants to protect so badly. But as he doesn't currently have a chase, I would imagine that Kitchaze is just going to be in lockers again.
Now trying to find the next survivor here with this mobility that you have when you have your Oni in the power, trying to scout the area, trying to find someone who is outzoned. The answer is no to that. Vistu is once again running out of power without the significant impact that you would really love to see. Yet he's finding the injured survivor. That's very good news for the killer. Generator number 4 now being completed. It was the midsection generator that had a lot of progress before, yet you can tell when you're playing for Misery at the moment, Kitchaze is not sleeping on these generators. They show a very great efficiency. They are immediately returning to the objectives. As soon as you are turning around, you basically know that a survivor is sitting back onto it, trying to push it all the way through here. So Vistu is still in a very tricky situation. I can only assume how tricky that feels right now with all the pressure on the shoulders, with the context that set number 1 was lost and that it really needs to work out here for themselves. Full heal on Kitchaze as well. Prion, if they manage to hide and seek a power again or run out another power, they have a very realistic chance to get all the 5 gens here.
Definitely Dire, and Kitchaze are kind of running out of pallets here, as we see that Vistuous is kind of going around and breaking some pallets. He does have the Blood Fury ready to go. There is a loose 3-gen here on the bottom side of the map near Shack, so Kitchaze is going to have to attack this in a tactical manner, probably touching the 2 furthest generators away from each other in succession. So you can see that they're setting up here on the edge map, but actually it's going to be Makopon getting found here in the Blood Fury. Can Vistuous hit the flick? And yeah, Makopon not going to path around that twice. Vistuous learned from the last time at that filler tile. And Rizel here now hiding in the locker. That is a dangerous locker to hide in. So close to the generator.
Yeah, and especially we have seen them using this locker earlier already in the trial, right? We've just seen very wonderfully, you pointed it out, Vistuous learned from the last time he was playing around this tile. He's now reading the survivors better. And when you are then showing the killer multiple times that you're using this locker next to the generator, of course the killer is going to expect you to hide in there when it's so close next to a generator where you're trying to get progress in, and you basically showing him we have used this locker earlier, then it's not too far away from the assumption that the survivors are going to hide in there while the power is active. Very nice hit around the rescuer, making around the hooked survivor, making sure that the rescuer Rizel is going to take the injury right here. Pallets in this area have been used early on, so the only thing that you can have at the moment is trying to fake this window basically, but even for that the distance is not big enough. Rizel is going to be thrown back onto the hook as they are saying goodbye to us as well, at least. Yeah, they are going to say goodbye to us in this trial, leaving Makopon and the other survivor YQKXN in the trial, and Vistu is trying to get the down as quick as possible here, yet Makopon able to run the killer for a little bit longer. Half of the power about to expire, so good run from the survivor. Nice fake there with the shack window, double vaulting it, so you're making sure that the killer's inside, but then a little bit of hesitation on the survivor side, vaulting into the killer. And now Vistuous has a little bit of sprinting back to make it towards this generator over here. Prion, I think we got ourselves a 4K, yet very nice that they got 4 gens done and can play around a 3-gen now.
Yeah, this is the kind of result that I expected from an Oni player like Vistuous, but we can't discount that Kitchaze played very well in this game. They didn't have a good start. They had a survivor dead very early on, so I'm impressed that they were able to get down to 1 generator remaining.
Yeah, 1 gen remaining. Very nice turn for themselves here. And this final run on the main building is also really, really nice. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy these endgame chases yourself, then make sure that you are hitting !Discord in the chat. Join our community and play the 1v1 leaderboard yourself. You can prove yourself to be a good runner, and you can practice your killer skills at the same time while climbing the first competitive leaderboard for 1v1 chases that you have ever seen, and hopefully you will do as great on the ladder as our Adam at the moment. Perfect that happening there, and ultimately after a very impressive run, it's coming to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, that sets the expectation really clear. For Misery's survivor game, you need to get all the generators done. On the other hand, keep in mind this means for Kitchaze on the killer side, they can play around a 3 gen here. Prion, maybe when we are looking on the upcoming trial now, what can we expect from Misery's survivor team? Will we see an aggressive survivor team that is trying to get the generators out of the way as quick as possible? Or will we have a slow approach, somewhat we have seen in the mid game on Kitchaze here, trying to hide out the powers?
I'm hoping to see a slower approach from Misery here. If you play too quickly, you risk giving the Oni a lot of free hits and injuries, and that is what can result in a really, really strong killer result. The 4K2 win condition coming in for Kitchaze, it is definitely doable, but it requires Misery to play too aggressive and give a lot of blood. So we'll be right back after a short break where we'll see if Kitchaze is able to take this home and 2-0 Misery, or if we're going to be going to the tiebreaker. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Coal Tower here for potentially the last game of this series. We have Neko on the killer for Kitchaze here, looking to bring it home for Team Japan, as a very early pallet drop for Ducky is going to start the first chase here towards the main building. Neko doesn't want to chase that, though, because he wants play with your food stacks. So it looks like both of these Oni players were kind of on the same wavelength when they submitted their builds, Dyer. They both have the play with your food. But interestingly here from Neko, he's going to be a 1-perk killer very soon here with Corrupt and Lethal Pursuer.
Yeah, it's very interesting, as you mentioned. Play with your food seems to be the agreement. You want to have this little bit of zooming advantage when you're going into these mechanical mind games where you're trying to get the injury as quick as possible. So far, Misery is doing a really good job. Ducky forcing the break of the pallet. That's going to be a little bit of bloodlust reduction, but what's not going to be reduced is the play with your food extra speed, 10%. And we can already tell Kitchaze is able to make much more use out of this perk than Misery in the previous trial. In the previous trial, play with your food played more of a side character, and now we are already with 10% of zooming speed into the first chase. This forces Cheese and Ducky into dropping a lot of the pallets. This will definitely benefit Neko later on in this trial, though. To have a benefit, you need a survivor that is in a chase with you, and you also need to make sure that you are getting the injuries, and so far that's not going to happen. Unfortunately, the injury now with the 10% of extra speed, 5% will remain while Ducky is going into the mind game here, but Ducky better goes for a long run here in order to establish Misery's good position.
And Ducky is running back towards an area where Neko has already kicked the pallets, Dyer. He has one more filler here, but he's playing the short side of it. He's going to greed, and that is just not going to work out. Nice job there from Neko. He consumes his play with your food stacks, but he is even going to get his first down. And when he was back at that other tile, I was almost going to say there's his third play with your food stack, but he goes for the down instead, so that works out perfectly fine. And it looks like here, Neko is going to be playing for these generators on the bottom side of the map. There are only 2 remaining on the top side of the map. Probably going to be trying to hold this area with the eruption to meet his win condition here. It is certainly possible. There are 4 generators here on this side of the map.
Yeah, now you got the pressure started for yourself. Neko definitely knows now, I can get it down onto these survivors. I can get my pressure started, already finding the next survivor over here. Yet Cheese was able to break line of sight, and then in a perfect timing, moving towards the top side, making sure that more distance is being taken here. So very well played by the Misery survivors. We have exactly what you predicted also in the campfire chat between the last trial. You said you hope for a slower approach, for a careful approach by the survivors. I feel like we are getting exactly that. They are leaving early from the generator, not trying to overcommit, not trying to do anything too crazy here. Therefore, Neko needs a little bit of luck in order to strike. He definitely has that here. Onto Cheese, being caught there behind the rock, but still Misery in a good position. Second generator in exchange for the second hook stage overall is something where you can be proud of as a survivor team.
Yeah, really not good though for Cheese to get caught with the Blood Fury in the generator setup. So that is exactly the kind of hook placement that Neko wants to have. And now as he's chasing Vistus on this filler pallet, just another pallet removed from the game. The pallets are getting thinner and thinner, especially on the bottom side of the map that Neko really wants to protect. He's going to be going back towards this hook now. And I noticed just earlier as the save comes in that Deliverance is not in play because it was on Ducky, who has already been hooked. So power now achieved for Neko, and what is he going to do with this here? Looks like he's going back towards the top side of the map, maybe scouting these generators, looking for a survivor out of position, maybe looking for Ducky, who has already got a hook on him, but it seems like he's just posturing around the middle of the map, finding a survivor now, popping the Blood Fury. He is in a location with only one tile, nothing connecting here on this Ormond tile, and it's gonna be Vistus here, somehow spinning Neko out of his Demon Strike there. Very nicely done by Vistus, and he's just gonna throw the pallet and get more distance.
Absolute insane juice being served right there with the spin, and Vistus now faking that he would go for the window and then instead going around the boxes over here, making sure that the run is lasting longer, hopping into the locker as well. This does not allow Neko to go for the slug and more pressure. Instead, you have to pick the survivor out of the locker, and this means that your power is coming to an end. Very well played by Misery so far. We love what we are seeing in the chases, and this is a perfect comeback as well. Keep in mind, everyone, for the win condition, 3 more generators being needed. This means that Misery has to break a 3-gen that Neko is so far trying to hold here on the bottom side. 1 generator here is a little bit outsourced towards the left side next to the hook, but still something that you can realistically work with. The blood bank is going to fill up the power bar down there, not fully into the power yet. Next injury will bring us that. Alternatively, some blood orbs that might be scattered at windows whenever the survivors were vaulting over here. So now mobility and 1-hit potential back in the trial, and Neko looking good so far. He has definitely the awareness for his surroundings. He knows where he has to check for survivors, which generators are currently under pressure. The only problem at the moment is that he's not able to strike yet.
Yeah, and Dire, I was just informed by one of our awesome match officials that I made a small mistake there. Deliverance is actually on Abby, not Ducky. So it is still in play in this trial, as the Blood Fever is going to be popped again. And speak of the devil, there's Abby getting one shot by the Demon Strike, and is going to be slugged on the ground with Unbreakable. So Neko wants more here, but it might come back to bite him because of that Unbreakable. He's going down towards the top side of the map here, really wants to protect this generator in the mid-map on the side near the wall. It has a lot of progress, but he's actually just going to go back and hook Abby here, who does have the Deliverance charged. That generator over there in the pallet gym is so close to being done though, and if that one goes, that is going to be the sort of gen setup broken here for Neko. He won't have those 4 gens that he wants to hold for the win condition.
She's trying to attack the generator over here. Ducky doing the same. They are a little bit, you could say, even bullying the killer while making sure that he knows exactly we are in control at the moment. We are running away early enough. Our communication is on point. There's nothing really that you can do. And when you can make the killer feel that there's nothing they can do, you are really entering this position in a trial where you're becoming dominant, where you're the one putting pressure onto the opponent. Yet Neko is earning the 5% of extra speed for himself through the token of play with your food. So the survivors need to be more careful now. 10% will be added now in a second. So you better make sure that you're leaving the area quick enough when you're trying to jump around in the killer's face. Perfect deliverance coming out onto Abby, making sure that they are out of the dangerous area as well. All 4 survivors back in the trial, all 4 survivors able to get back onto the generators. It is a tough task at the moment with the 3-gen that needs to be broken here on the bottom side, but Misery, since they have all 4 survivors, since they are communicating really clear, I feel like they will be able to break this ultimately.
Yeah, we have to give proper credit to Misery here. They're playing this extremely well, just like I wanted them to, as a hit is going to come in onto Cheese there, but honestly, that's not really Cheese's fault with the 2 stacks of play with your food that were active there. Power is going to be achieved now, and it's going to be popped right in Ducky's face at this tile. Going to be going for the pallet break there. Interesting play. Maybe doesn't trust the flick around the side, and nice commitment there from Ducky. Just takes the vault. And this down needs to come in now to get Eruption on that gen. Vistuous is about to finish it. Volt comes in. Nice flick there from Neko. 10% regression onto that generator, but honestly, Dire, I don't think it's going to be enough. That generator is so close. Neko would have needed to slug there if he wanted to keep that gen.
Now, generator number 3 is coming out, which marks a very important milestone in the hunt or the chase that Misery is trying to get onto Kitchaze here. We are 1 generator away now from the tie condition, 2 generators away from the win, so the pressure is rising. Neko is no longer in the safety position where you can have another generator being completed without anything bad happening to you. Now let's see if that's going to be the chance here with the power. 50% on the generator there at the bottom side. We do see that Ducky is running away a little bit, trying to bait the killer towards the main building, but he's of course not listening because he knows that the generators on the bottom side are currently under attack and focused by Team Misery, so we can only hope that the survivor already moved away, but we see them here on the hill currently in the move, and it's not going to be the down through the windows though. Vistuous with very strong chases here against the Oni, reading this one as well. Here we have seen him even with a spin earlier. Neko trying on the outside of Shack again, trying to go for the flick as well. Yet Vistuous already on the window and ready to walk out of the dangerous area. Generator reaching 60% again with 2 survivors. Misery now though even ready to put the injured survivors onto the generators, turning the call tower into a blood bank. Prion, I can only hope that they get these generators done now, because if now any delay happens and the Oni has access to so much blood, that would be very punishing.
Yeah, it's a smart play here from Misery, Dire. They're at the point in the game where they no longer care if the Oni is in power, because they don't need to escape. They just need to finish a certain amount of generators. So Cheese going to hop into the locker there, 1 generator going to pop on the side of the map, and another one is very close to being done by Vistuous here. And Neko, he needed a miracle with that power. And Vistuous, the Oni player, is maybe not who you wanted to be chasing to get that miracle.
Yeah, it's basically Misery throwing all in now, as we know from poker, for example. Either they get the generator done now, or the call tower is going to be so filled with blood that the killer is basically just turning into an unstoppable machine. Let's hope for Neko and the fans of Kitchaze that there is going to be somewhat a turn into the tiebreaker at least. Then set number 3 would not instantly mark the chance for Misery to take the win. Instead, it would still overall be the 1-1, and this was a very important down onto Abby here, leaving Ducky and Vistus as the final standing survivors in this trial. Vistus on the bottom side, now rotating into the shack, making sure that there is going to be the rescue onto Cheese, hanging in the basement. Ducky doing a very good job behind the main building here, dropping and sacrificing this filler pallet as quick as possible, as you need this resource for a few additional seconds, and doing a good job on the Z-wall here, running long enough so the power is out, reaching the next pallet even. Ducky with the chance here to make the run for the win of Team Misery. The blind coming out, not entirely sure if that's going to do too much of difference, as all our players here have good headsets, but it comes to the realization at Neko that this was too much time as the final generator is being completed. 1-1, we go into the Plague set on Ormond, ladies and gentlemen, as the AHL tiebreaker sets are only allowing 3 bans for the maps on each team, and then it's decided by RNG. We are seeing a lot of new combinations of killers and maps, and this is going to be the Plague on Ormond for this side. 1-1. I feel like we don't really have this dominant factor in this best of 3. I don't think it's easy to decide if it's Kitchaze or Misery taking the tiebreaker, which ultimately makes this upcoming set even better to watch and even more exciting. Yet again, Prion, I'm putting you into this difficult position after you have seen the Oni set. Misery or Kitchaze?
It's difficult to say, Dyer, as usual, but if I had to make an informed analysis here, I think the playstyle that is required against the Plague is more in line with what we just saw from Misery's survivors. I would love Kitchaze to win. I really want to see Japan go home with a win, but I think Misery is a little bit more in control on the survivor side right now. Now, I don't know how good either of these teams are on the Plague. Obviously, with these Nurse and Oni sets, each team that picked that killer won it pretty decisively. So it's really going to be a toss-up going into this set that nobody really picked on a strange map. So my heart is saying Kitchaze, but my brain is leaning a little bit toward Misery.
And a little bit of American heart is probably leaning towards Misery as well. Don't forget that they are after Cynic has disbanded, Misery is really only our representation of the American scene. So we would love to have Misery being successful as well, of course. But yeah, it is almost a moral question as well. Do you want to give it to our nice guests? Kitchaze has been really, really nice in this tournament to work with, even has taken a lot of resources, a lot of work with the translator as well, communicating with us, translating themselves all the necessary information. So big shout out here, regardless of how the tiebreaker will go. Big shout out and appreciation to Kitchaze right here. Prion, I'll go with Kitchaze overall, because simply by my hope, it would feel more fair if our Japanese guests are taking at least 1 win before they have to go home, and Misery, they can win tomorrow against Unoya, and then they still have a chance to make it into the playoffs. So let's hope that they are using that one. Ladies and gentlemen, Plague on Ormond, very, very unusual, therefore very interesting, and we'll see you right after a very short break. Welcome back, everyone, once again to my favorite killer on the comp DBD stage. We are here with the Plague on Mount Ormond Resort. What happened in the previous trial? You noticed it. There was a black screen. Sometimes there are technical difficulties arising, and DBD is not being captured by OBS anymore. Out of nowhere, out of yeah, nonsense, you could say, not really a reason that comes to your mind when all the other trials have worked. Shout out at this moment to our producer of today, Savannah, because I can imagine there's nothing more scary than loading into a trial, seeing that it's a black screen and knowing that all of you can see it and not really, yeah, in the position that you have a technical support on your side. So we called a restart. All teams were very understanding, no penalties obviously, and they can adjust their builds. Sometimes technical problems are coming up as well. Neko with the power here immediately onto Cheese. No Mither is definitely very tempting to go for something crazy and expect an early down, yet Neko is also getting this early down and not only hoping for it. Great first chase for the Plague here.
Yeah, good first chase here for Neko. He is going to lose the main building generator for it, but smart decision to pick up the Corrupt Purge very early there when you found the No Mither survivor. The only downside here is that he's not going to be able to spread the infection really because he cannot use the Vile Purge just yet. Nobody infected just yet, as he's now using that Vile Purge on some of the generators as well as the hook. But that infection on the hook is not going to transfer to the unhooker Dire because Cheese isn't fully infected yet.
Cheese not with the full infection, on the hook a little bit with the green with the green marking just to make sure that we find him later from the coughing. But yeah, as you mentioned, no Mither here. Really, with the counterplay also, you want to make sure that the Plague is not falling into any sort of rush after picking up the power and downing a few survivors, the slugging being prevented. A little bit the strategy also that we see on the Billy sometimes, and then you really want to have this one survivor who doesn't need to worry too much about the infections on the generators. Abby now though with a full trade, as Neko decided to go for the camp. Whenever the killer gets the first down relatively quickly, they have enough time to camp a survivor into or for a little bit, either into the second stage or taking the trade. This is the case here with Abby, so I think our killer Neko is very happy with taking the second hook stage like that. Trying to snipe onto the generator worked out over here. Ducky and Vistuis do not care about the infection though. They're just going straight back onto the gen, but Vistuis might be in a tricky spot here at the corner of Ormond with the power ready to go.
Oh, this was greeting the pallet there. I'm not sure. Well, I can see what he was planning to do there. He thought Neko was going to back up to avoid the pallet stun that would have removed his power. But Neko, he started this game really playing on the shack side of the map, probably trying to hold those generators over there, but he realized there have been two survivors just comfortably doing gens over here on the top side, and he wants to try to take control here with his second use of the Corrupt Purge. This is the only other Corrupt Purge he's going to have unless people cleanse, as that Purge is going to just miss a little bit there. Onto Ducky here. This isn't a very strong tile, and Ducky is just going to go around the hill. Nice little crouch there from Ducky. You can really do that against the Plague if you are a very good survivor in chase, as we see there from Ducky. But Neko going to leave him on the ground and go back towards the other generators. He does still have Ruin active with the Natophobia. Eruption in his back pocket just in case he needs it, and now back towards the shack with the No Mither survivor Cheese, who did have Decisive Strike, but Neko chose not to pursue it there. Gonna get rid of that shack pallet, and then I guess go straight back to tending to his generators.
Yeah, this is important now for Neko that he's keeping an eye out for the gens, for the objectives here. We have seen in the previous trial with the Oni set how good and how efficient Misery is playing around the generators, how good they are with communicating with each other. Now dropping the pallet over here. Abby kind of learning what Vistuis has done a little bit too greedy there in the previous chase, not trying to go for too much and making sure that the Plague is being kept under control. Abby trying to move around the snowmobile here, and that's going to be a whiff over the pallet right there, not able to go for it. There's the next one over here, and that's going to be the next generator coming out as well too. Even Prion, we are making sure that we are showing the pressure that the survivor team has at the moment. 4 gens done. This is so strong.
Very nice chase there coming in from Abby. As one generator remaining now, very efficient so far for the survivors of Misery. Ruin is still up, full Thanatophobia debuff coming in onto Misery now. The last generator seems to be about 60% progress, and being doubled here, Dire. There are no corrupt purge pools on the map for Neko. He needs to make something happen here. He is going to be able to interrupt that generator with Ruin before it gets completed, but I mean, there's two other generators on the map, and that generator is so close to being done. It's regressing with Ruin, but that regression is not very fast. He needs to find more downs here very quickly.
I feel a little bit bad for Neko now, because I feel like he has... It's the same feeling I had during the Oni game as well. Definitely the understanding for what's going on in the trial. You can see that he knows which generator is under attack. You can see that he knows what survivor would be ideal to chase. It comes with the execution where the problem lays. He's not able to get the downs that he really needs. He's not able to chain the pressure together into this big amount of pressure that is then laying on the shoulders of the Misery survivors. Use the power earlier, trying to get the pressure for Kitchaze as quick as possible. Very honorable idea, yet also didn't really work out. Unfortunately, Misery survivor too long with the runs. Even Vistu's 2-tap was not enough. Abby afterwards immediately with the counterplay, picking up the responsibility, helping out the team member that was a little bit cut short there on the chase, and you can see the panic now a little bit onto Neko. You are aware that you need downs, that you need pressure, and it's not going to be successful. Ducky running into the corner next to the shack here, wasting as much time as possible, and I do think, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the final hook stage that we are going to witness in this trial. The other 3 Misery survivors will make sure that they are getting out of here.
Absolutely, Dire, but Ducky is a fresh hook. He was slugged earlier in the trial, and this hook and death onto Ducky, if you consider what a good Plague result is, and then put her on a tougher map like Ormond, getting this fresh hook onto Ducky puts Neko in a pretty decent scenario, I would say.
Absolutely. In a very fine scenario, actually. 7 stages on, I believe, all 4 survivors, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, all 4 survivors. 7 stages is something that you definitely can be proud of, because the other team, it's not unlikely that a Plague only catches 3 survivors throughout the trial. Then you would need to have at least 8 stages in this case on 3 or 4 survivors. So, very great, I think. Very great final move in the end game there. I don't think that Misery is worrying too much about having the 8 stages as a win condition, yet it's something you can definitely work with on the survivor side of Kitchaze. They are now going to take this role. Misery is going to switch over towards the killer side, and we will see you after a short break.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ormond for the final trial of this match, unless we somehow get a tie. But we have Ducky now on the Plague with Kitchaze playing Survivor. This could be Kitchaze's last Survivor set of the All Hallows League, so let's everybody cheer them on here. As Ducky trying to spread this vile purge at the beginning of the game. His build is quite similar, and that's Yakun there vaulting into the killer and getting infected. Not sure what's happening there, Dire, but that is going to be the start of the first chase.
Yeah, very unfortunate start, because this pallet over here is also not the most safe pallet that we have on the Ormond. Rizal not really able to go for a rescue as well. 2 infected survivors a few seconds into this trial already, and that's the down right there. On to Adam right after. 50% on the first generator here for Kitchaze, but almost a 2-tap in the first tile is not what you want to see on this survivor side there. Rizal with a very interesting Minecraft ace model, so to say, after leaving the generator over there. Not entirely sure what's happening with the skin. David working on a generator as well. A little bit of contagious being spread here and there. Yeah, rough start for Kitchaze so far. They definitely need a quick rescue. They need to bring back the survivors into the trial here. They need to, at the same time, really be efficient on the generators. So far, Ducky 100% has set himself up for a great possible match.
And it looks like Ducky here is electing to take the Corrupt Purge, going back towards the hook with it as well. And this is a very smart play from Ducky. You want to hold this hook because you got such an early down. And the best way to do that is with this Corrupt Purge on the Plague. Pretty much entirely prevents survivors from coming in for the rescue, especially at range. This hook is right out in the open. And it looks like actually it's going to be Neon going for the unhook. And just like I just said, the Corrupt Purge entirely prevents that unhook, and he's going to die right under the hook.
Now, second stage will very likely come out over here. Second generator is being completed, though on the cost of having another hook stage here. Nijan now also going on to the hook. David taking an injury while the survivor is being rescued, perhaps because he wants the sprint burst while going for the rescue. I'm not entirely sure though if you are in the position at the moment where you can freely give an injury to the killer, because Ducky only needs the 8 stages to make sure that Misery is taking the win here. Balanced landing not working out. Prion, I feel like a lot of things at the moment are falling apart on the side of Kitchaze.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate there that Yakun did not have the pallet on that side of the balcony, so he had to go for the balanced landing. Just was not enough though, so that's going to be a death at 3 generators here for Ducky. He's really doing a lot of work in this Plague set, setting Misery up to take this win. He's got 2 stacks of Grim Embrace, everyone is injured, and he's already found a chase onto another survivor here. It's not looking good for Kitchaze. It's going to be very difficult for them to take this win.
Yeah, they are almost in this position now where you realize during the mid-game it is going to be rough to make a serious turn. You would need a chase that lasts for quite some time. The deliverance is denied in this trial as well, as we had Renato having on the hook earlier. Rizal here fully broken as well. Nijan would be the only one who can really make a move now, because it's still possible to go for a reset onto that survivor. Ducky with 5 stages overall, if I'm not mistaken, could even be a little bit beyond. No, it should be 5 on 3 survivors at the moment, so 3 more stages, meaning that Misery would pull the win here. And whoever is a little bit of a math nerd can calculate for themselves that if Marco Polo would die, we would already talk about the 7 stages mark here. So 1 more, and then making sure that we are going to see the elimination onto Marco Polo, and the win is set for Misery. Not really something that is going to be easy for Kitchaze, and even these mind games work on them at the moment. Yeah, Kitchaze really in a rough spot. It's almost heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, very nice shot there with the Corrupt Purge from Ducky, going to get the down onto Rizal at the window. This ace going to be going up on the hook. I believe that is a fresh hook. Yeah, that's going to be the 4th stack of Grim Embrace, and the ace is invisible for some reason. Very interesting there. The Grim Embrace is not going to provide aura reading because the obsession is on the hook, but that doesn't matter because Ducky already has the trail of Makopon here in the corner. At least I think that's him. Might be Neon. We'll see here in a second as the chase starts. It's kind of hard to see from a distance. Okay, that is Neon here in the corner, but the Corrupt Purge is still up, and he is at a TO wall with nowhere to go. It's going to be another down for Ducky, and this hook here is going to be the tie condition for him. With 3 generators remaining, it is all but sealed for Ducky and Misery.
Very, very great to see that we are now going to see the snowmobile over here, where we have this generator around the 75% mark, trying to make sure that we're keeping the survivors further under control, that they don't even get towards the 3rd generator completed. Of course, Ducky now also with the chance to set a sign a little bit for all the teams that are waiting there in the main stage, trying to make sure, don't forget about Misery, don't count us out. We might have dropped a set today and we might have a loss in our record, but now we are here, now we are shining, we're going strong into the main stage, and this has the possibility right here for Ducky, who's not getting Nianzo. Oh, it looked like they can make a little bit of a run there, but then it came down to the hit being connected. The flashlight save would have been a stylish approach for the Survivor team, but Prion, right now, nothing works for them, what they are trying. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's going to be Ducky securing the win condition there for a 2-1 in favor of Misery. Sort of as I predicted there, the way that the Misery survivors were playing in the Oni set really translated well into the Plague set today. Misery, they had a really rough start in the Nurse game, but it's good for them that they were able to keep their mental game strong, go into these next two sets, and take them both in the tiebreaker. So great stuff from Misery. We'll be seeing them in the next stage of the tournament as well. We just need Ducky to finish off these last two survivors.
Now the snow mobile over here again. We've seen it earlier with the caretaking of the gen. Ducky with a little whiff, blocking the pallet afterwards, trying to deny it, and it works out successfully. Makopor finds himself injured now and forced to go into further looping. Over here, Rizal, Ace, with the chance to get for a little bit more of gen pressure. We see him leaving in the distance, was trying to get that done as quick as possible, but we still have 2 full more generators to go, and we're already on the stage where Misery has taken the win in this best of 3. Would only be the question, is Kitchaze able to go for more generators here? Are they able to finish off their DBDL, All Hallows League participation, with all the generators done? The answer so far seems to be a no, but there is the chance for Ace now with a long chase, with a great run around this pallet here. Ducky trying to go for the hit, not successful though, so we are going to have the down right here, and Prion, now I think we are about to see the finish off in this trial.
Yes, Dire aura reading from the eruption coming in onto Makopon, and he is going to have the final chase for Kitchaze of this season. Drops the balcony pallet there and goes back down into the lodge. Looks like he's going to be pathing outside toward the shack here. Now has a decent filler pallet there. It goes past the picnic table pallet. I do not blame him. That pallet is terrible. Trying to make the shack window here, but I think Ducky is going to be able to get that with the Bloodlust. Nicely done. Yeah, Misery today really brought their A game. We're able to defeat Kitchaze 2-1. And this is going to unfortunately be the last time we see Kitchaze in the All Hallows League, Dire. And I just want to say thank you to all the Japanese fans for coming out here. It's definitely really sad and unfortunate that Kitchaze has to go now, but I believe all of their games went to tiebreaker. They were so close every time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big thing, right? We're talking about Team Kitchaze and Misery here, 2 representatives of big communities, America and Japan, kind of the outsiders when we look on the majority of teams being on Europe, and then outsiders in terms of geographics. I hope no one is taking my words in the wrong way here. And then we have like this nice game today where we're playing American against Japan, because we haven't seen that before in AHL yet. So it was very interesting. The ping difference luckily didn't come in clutch even too much. With the exit lag being allowed here, we have seen phenomenal games actually. It was much more entertaining than when we have 2 European teams playing against each other, where we kind of know what can we expect, where we kind of know what is one or the other team bringing to the table. Here in this case, really something new. We know that Misery is strong, especially after Cynic has said goodbye to the competitive scene, taking over on this role of representing the American community. And then on the other side, Kitchaze trying to represent Japan, doing a really good job here in this tournament. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to them as they have 3 losses on their record. For Misery, it's a great chance to make sure that they are moving forward. But yeah, so we are going to see what Kitchaze is moving on in the future for, and we hope that they are coming back. Obviously, Misery has the chance tomorrow to establish themselves for the main stage after a win against Unoya. And with that being said, we are moving forward into Catalyst versus Severance.